So I have been watching the news again. Does anyone know there's another high profile trial about to start? Like I think in 2 days, right? On the first. I don't know if y'all have heard about this one because I know with the murder of George Floyd, that one definitely got international news, right? Like everyone was watching that trial because it got televised and all that. Um, I don't know how much is gonna be televised, but there's the trial for Kyle Rittenhouse, and this is the actual teenager, honestly, because he was 17 then, he's 18 now. Um, but he was the one who drove across straight lines with his rifle, went out patrolling at a outside of a protest. It was the shooting of Jacob Blake, right, or the guy who got shot in the back by police. And there was like the Black Lives Matter protesters, right, and so Rittenhouse is this white teenager, grabs his rifle, drives across state lines. This isn't a homophobic thing. uh, Might be racial, but I don't think it was particularly homophobic. That wasn't the issue here. Um, Drove across state lines with his rifle. Was out kind of patrolling, holding a rifle like at these protests, and then when he gets attacked by some of the protesters who are out there, ends up shooting three of them. One of them gets hit in the arm and is injured, but two of them actually are killed. Right? They aren't just like injured; they're actually killed. Right? And so now, they can't defend themselves at this point because they're dead. Right? And so people like point at the video, and they're like, "Oh, he was attacked. This was self-defense." Well, here's kind of the problem with that. It's not self-defense if you literally go to a protest that you expect to be violent with a loaded weapon. He didn't show up with a sign, saying, stop the protests or whatever. Did stop destroying buildings. He shows up with a rifle. Like, seriously, like you can't show up with a rifle and then claim self-defense. Like that's not how self-defense works, right? You don't go and like point a gun at someone and then when they feel threatened and they attack you, you have to shoot them because in defense of your own life. Like that's not how self-defense works. So, but anyway, there's been a lot of chatter about that, and that trial is about to start. No, he's not a police officer. See, that's the thing. Like, if you're a police officer and you're working for the government, and you like are at a protest to protect the peace, and first of all, police don't even have rifles, right? And like, maybe they have access to rifles, sure, but like, they have handguns. And like it's one thing to have a hand, plus a handgun can usually stop someone. It can kill someone, although right, like it's not nearly as deadly, right, as a rifle, right? Like rifles are far more likely to kill someone. Um, Especially you get like multiple shots and all that. Um, Semi-automatic, that kind of thing, right? But it's the other thing is like even when police are patrolling, right? Where's their gun? Their gun is on their hip, right? They have a gun, you can see it, it's on the hip. They're not touching it until they need to, right? You got a rifle, you're literally walking around like this with a rifle out. That's a lot different of a message. That's not protecting the peace. That's I've got a rifle, like that can kill you, and you make one wrong move and I will shoot you, right? Like that's there's a huge difference, right? And that's been, you know, even when dealing with actual police, there's a difference between, the policeman has a gun because it's expected that they do, it's visible, like, and then, oh, the police were pointing their gun at me, right? That's like two completely different things. If you know, there's this thing where people don't like having guns pointed at them, right? They don't like, and also I know a lot of defenders of Rittenhouse. They're like, oh, it's not aggressive just to be holding a gun. There's a difference again between having like a gun on your hip and then having a rifle that you can point at. Like, people do fear that. Whether maybe you don't fear that, but some people actually just fear someone walking around with a rifle, and that's a legitimate fear. Like, someone, right? Like, even okay. I live in North Carolina, right? We do have open carry laws here, right? Um, and I worked in a retail store. I've seen someone come in who wasn't a police officer, who just had a gun on their hip, right? And as someone who was working in loss prevention, so that's partial security, even though not really security, but kind of. I let the people on the radio know that someone just was doing an open carry, right? Like, because just seeing that, if you're looking around shopping for clothes, right, and that kind of thing, you don't need to be displaying a weapon. That's ridiculous, right? Like, I could get mugged in the middle of a crowded store. Like, I just it's ridiculous, right? And but if there's no law saying you can't do that. So, but I let people know, right? Like, as a precaution, even if they weren't trying to use it or anything, just the fact that they had one, yeah, I'm letting people know. If someone came in with a rifle, are they allowed to? Sure, apparently by the law, that's allowed. But, like, our managers are gonna have a panic attack if someone walks in the store with a loaded rifle, right? Like, that's that's a thing, right?